Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. Tonight, we are recapping the week's nerdy news from the Tomb of Archimedes to Metropolis and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me, as always, is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Well, none of those locations are Rich Stadium in Buffalo, New York, where much heartache just happened for many of us Central New Yorkers. However, we're now coming to you live at 10:10 p.m. as opposed to our normal 9:30 because, well, sports happened. So I apologize.
My heart goes out to all of you Buffalo sports people that apparently feel
that cared about a thing that happened today.
That cared about a thing that happened. Yep.
Which
I actually watched.
Hey, there you go.
Texting you. I actually watched it, or some of it, parts of it, the end of it. But I was not nearly as devastated as you, and I'm sorry, my friend.
It's all good, man. Now we were just Mike just lifted me out of my doldrums by talking about Green Day and Rancid, and now we're directly into Star Wars and various other things, and it's like, oh, energy's back up. We're doing happy things again.
Talking about some fun stuff. Talking about some great music, great bands that we love, and now we're talking about some nerdy stuff that we love. But first, gotta say, this podcast is sponsored by Funkytown Comics and Vinyl in Camillus, New York. Check them out for all your comics, toys, vinyl, record needs.
Yeah, they just got a nice drop on Friday, I think, of some new stuff record-wise, too.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, that's true.
Yep.
A lot of great stuff going on down there. Also want to remind you that we will be, speaking of Funkytown Comics, they are sponsoring a Collectors Con, Syracuse Collectors Con, March 16th and 17th. Steve and I will be there. We'll have a table, and I'll be selling comic books as well, so you should go. Be there. Are tickets available already?
Yeah.
Or when?
Yep. You can get them at Funkytown. Check your comic shops around the Syracuse area. Definitely Funkytown. And I think directly through Lynn at Syracuse Collectors Con.
Yeah. .com. Yeah, through the website for sure. Yeah. So check that out. Also, Tuesday, Steve, Tuesday.
Is there something happening Tuesday, Mike?
Yeah, dude. You and I are sitting down with Eisner Award-winning comic book writer G. Willow Wilson.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. No, I didn't.
It'd be crazy if you forgot about it. I would be
just
mad
out of nowhere. I'm like, what, really? Holy crap, we're doing that?
I scheduled a thing on Tuesday. I can't do that Tuesday. Well, you're doing it.
No, that's been front and center on the calendar since we scheduled it. So we're good to go. We are ready to rock. And if, in all honesty, if anyone has anything they would like to ask G. Willow Wilson, feel free to get a hold of us on the socials, the Multiverse Report, for I think just about all the socials at this point.
You'll find us.
If not, the Multiverse Report at gmail.com, the multiversereport.com. Best ways to get
let us know.
Yep.
We have a lot to talk to her about already,
including Seattle Sounders stuff, which you're not going to be involved in, but apparently she's a diehard fan of the same MLS soccer team that I am. So
that's true. I do follow her on socials, and I know that about her. Although you're correct, I will not be able to participate in that line of questioning.
Not a huge MLS fan, buddy.
I like soccer, but I don't follow it.
Yeah,
at all. I should.
Even if you did, you probably wouldn't follow MLS because most people seem to not to.
Well, Steve, if I ever feel like it, I'm gonna come to you and you'll tell me.
There you go.
Where to dive in.
We'll be here for you.
All right, you and G. Willow Wilson.
Yep.
But we'll be talking to her about a lot of her work, including Ms. Marvel, who Kamala Khan, who she is the co-creator of. Her work on Poison Ivy, for sure, at DC, that's happening currently, and also her current book, Hunger in the Dusk, which I have not read too much of, but Steve is up to date on, and you'll probably lead that line of questioning as well. I also got questions for about like writing and general comics industry stuff. So,
absolutely.
I'm very excited for that conversation. I was nervous for a while, and now I'm less nervous and just more excited to dive in. So,
after you've done all your homework.
Yeah, exactly. I feel kind of more up to snuff. So yeah, we're talking to her Tuesday. assuming that it will be released on Wednesday.
Yep.
So check your feeds, people. Check your feeds. And if you want to hear a different interview, you can check your feeds right now for our interview with Jay Stevens, which was like about 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
That was a great time. And go a little further back, you can hear an interview with Simon Burks, another noted comic book creator. So, yeah, they're out there. You listen to those in your feeds. Get ready for G. Willow Wilson this week. And Steve, I think is that all the business we got? I think that's all the business we got,
I think
right?
that might be all the business.
Well, if we think of more business, we can shout it out. But
per the wonderful show notes that you put together, that is all the business.
Yeah, well, awesome. Unless we think of more business, let's dive into some nerdy news reporting.
Yeah, I need like a soundboard with a drop for that or something.
Yeah, we should make this more like a morning radio show.
Yes, and
we're talking. Yeah. We're talking Star Wars.
Do I need my like DJ Khaled drops and?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. The horn's going to be going off.
Yeah. I know, kind of a light week for news, but there was a bit of Star Wars news dropping, courtesy of noted scooper Jeff Snyder.
So, Mike, I don't know if you've known our track record, but when you say those two things in subsequent order, that doesn't turn it into a light news week. That just turns it into us talking about Star Wars.
Well, it's a light news week. Notice how I didn't say that it's probably going to be a short episode this week. I feel like I've learned to not say that.
Fair enough.
Because it never is, folks. It never is, especially when Star Wars is involved. But yeah, there was a bit of a rumor this week, earlier in the week, that the new Jedi Order Rey film, directed by Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, was going to be delayed or possibly delayed indefinitely, removed from the schedule. That there was trouble with that movie. I don't know where those rumors came from.
Right, directly a week after Obaid-Chinoy like came out and had a whole interview about the movie, or at least a line of questioning
gave a quote
in an
or something
interview about the movie, and it's like, where's this popping up out of?
And apparently there was somebody dug up a quote that she gave like 5 years ago when she wasn't talking about Star Wars and made it look like she was talking about Star Wars, and so that might have caused it too. Like I didn't even really investigate that story, but
I unfortunately did, and that was rough. Like that's the internet at its worst.
Yeah, that's fandom at its worst for sure. But anyway, again, Scooper Jeff Snyder heard this rumor and thought to himself, I have not heard anything about that. So he double checked, and then he dropped all this information about Star Wars. He's doing some like pay per newsletter thing. You can sign up for
Substack type
pay
thing.
for it, and you get the scoops ahead of time. Smart move on his part, especially for someone like him who seems to get so many things fed to him that end up being right. But no, that it's not true. It's not true. The movie's still on track. Stephen Knight is still writing. He has not been fired, as per rumors suggested. Charmin Obaid-Chinoy is still directing. She has not been fired, as rumors were saying. And Daisy Ridley is still on board.
I thought they were going to recast Rey. Weird.
Right? Like I heard Jeff Snyder say this too, and he makes a great point. Like, and you know, this was tied. It was also came out this week that she's Daisy Ridley is getting paid $12.5 million for this movie, which is a good payday for sure. Because I mean, I think Daisy Ridley is a tremendous actor, but it's not like she's leading another franchise outside of Star Wars. She hasn't done anything that's like super big since Star Wars for sure. So I doubt she's getting paid $12.5 million for other movies that she's doing. But in this case, like you just said, Steve, they can't recast her. Like she's got the power in this scenario. You know, it's not like, I think Snyder said it's not like Marvel's looking for Invisible Woman and like, oh, Emma Stone can't do it, we'll just go somewhere else. You can't do that. She's Rey. This movie's going to be about Rey. You have to get Daisy Ridley. That's what you do. So yeah, she's got the power. She's going to ask for $12.5 million and she got it. Good for her. Get that money, girl. Ridley also gave an interview this week saying Quote, once I knew what the story was and everything, I knew it was something I really wanted to do. I think it's a really fantastic exploration of the Star Wars world. It's a really cool way of taking the story on in a bit of a different direction. Now, that is a sentence that I feel like everything else in the Star Wars fandom, probably polarizes a lot of people in Star Wars fandom. I'm sure a lot of people say, ooh, a different direction. Yes, we need a different direction. And a lot of other people say, oh, every time you go in a different direction, it's terrible. So you just got to stick with Luke Skywalker.
I don't know if they know, but Mark Hamill's old.
Sure is.
I love Mark Hamill.
I love Mark Hamill to death.
He's a great human being.
Yeah,
he's also not a young human being.
True. His character also doesn't have too much to do anymore.
And also, he's, spoiler alert for The Last Jedi, he's dead.
Yeah. I mean, you could force ghost him all you want, but there's only so much that you can do.
True.
Unless they recast him, and then like the rumors are. I mean, well, we've seen a AI recreation of him, but I think they should just recast him. Anyway, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
I like the idea. Who knows what she means by taking it in a bit of a different direction? I don't know the extent of that, how different it is, how different could it be? But I think it has to go. I think it has to go in a new direction. I think it has to.
It literally could just be a quote because they're not following up on the Skywalker saga and are going Rey's creating a Jedi temple and going off into her own thing that could be
finding a new problem, and solving that problem in a new way. That's definitely what we need in Star Wars for sure. I love the Skywalker saga. I love those characters. I love them, but
it could be a cameo by the boy band New Direction. Or One Direction. Sorry. That could be the New Direction, is them showing up in the movie.
That I don't know if I would have liked quite as much.
Probably less.
Yeah. Didn't they shoot an NSYNC cameo in Attack of the Clones?
Yes, they did. That was what made me think of it.
I forgot about that.
Yep.
I hadn't thought of that in a long time, but it got cut, right? They're not actually in the movie?
No, it's there. The scene's somewhere out there, but it definitely got cut.
Oh, my God.
Yep. The most 90s thing you could do.
That is definitely something, you have all these people out here, you have all these Star Wars fans that hate the sequel trilogy so much. And they say if George Lucas had directed it, it would be some master work. That's one thing you want to remind those people of. Well, he thought it was a good idea to put NSYNC in Attack of the Clones. So I don't know. We might as well have One Direction and Rise of Skywalker or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, otherwise you have Justin Timberlake as a Jedi.
Yeah, they were all Jedi, right? They were in that big fight. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was in the.
That's what I remember. That's what I remember hearing.
They were supposed to be in the arena scene or something like that, right? Yeah. Joey Fatone as a.
Oh, come on, Star Wars fans!
Yeah,
come on. This is what it is. It's goofy.
Yep.
It's goofy. This is what it is. That would have been too goofy, yes, but it was also George Lucas's idea,
right?
So. You never know. Never know what you're going to get, that guy.
Like we've always said with Star Wars, take what you like.
Yep.
Take what happened and what you don't like. You don't have to like it. It happened.
Oh. You just have to know that it happened and wait for the next thing.
Yeah.
Snyder also says that this movie he's guessing that this movie is looking at a release date of late 2026. I guess Lucasfilm has 2 dates set aside for 2026 for Star Wars films, and he's guessing that this one will be late 2026, whereas the Mandalorian and Grogu movie will be the first or the next Star Wars movie that we get, which would be the one that is in May of 2026. So we'll probably get Mandalorian and Grogu in May 2026, and then New Jedi Order Rey movie fall or winter.
Yeah. Now, I just checked the chat after our little rant there. The one, the only Matt Flint is
hey Matt, what's up?
And saying that a story where it's new Jedi Rey versus a situation where it's her versus the world would be safe, but also really great for building her character.
Yeah, that's true.
That's probably the direction they go. Like in my brain, that makes sense of like her finding some new issue, building her character out, and then fleshing it out with other things happening or whatever, or bringing more backstory in. But doing something to set up this whole second stage or post sequel trilogy, like non-Skywalker saga stuff.
Well, it is really interesting that they're not announcing trilogies; they're just announcing new movies.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of smart. I mean, Star Wars is what established like that movies tell stories in trilogies. Like that's like a thing, and it's their thing specifically.
Right.
It's what we know Star Wars movies as. But I also think it's kind of smart to move away from it, because then you don't get locked into well, now we have to follow up this story with this because this happened. And like that, that didn't really work out as well for, the sequel trilogy. At least the ending of it is what I'm talking about. I like the first two parts, but, and yeah, I think it kind of speaks to them taking their time more. Like, let's just make something that's good, and maybe it turns into a trilogy, but we're not going to announce a trilogy quite yet. We're not going to put the cart too much in front of the horse. And also, in doing something different with Rey, I think Steve, you and I have talked about this before, but like, the plot line of, a ragtag group of rebels or resistance fighters has to band together and take on and defeat a rising fascist regime, or an in-power fascist regime. That story always works. It always works.
Yeah.
Because it's great. But it would also be nice to see something else happen in Star Wars, to have like a different plot, different thrust of story moving forward for our characters. So we'll see.
That's almost why I'm excited about what could be from the Ahsoka into Thrawn into whatever situation, because in the books they set up the whole Thrawn thing and the conflict with the Grisk and the Chiss, the Grisk being the modern canon stand-in for the Yuuzhan Vong from the old EU, which were like extragalactic invaders that were a whole different thing, that were completely novel, something we'd never seen in Star Wars but felt Star Wars.
Yeah.
And if they could find a way to set something like that up in the Thrawn trilogy, that like they put that whole thing at bay, or the Thrawn movie.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
For like put that at bay, and then they're dealing with that in the sequel trilogy or something along those lines. Sure, why not? Like, find some way to do something that, like you said, isn't just the rote, me versus the rising fascist regime.
Right.
Just a novel look at things would be maybe fresh.
Yeah, I agree. But Steve, you may be in, I was going to say you may be upset, but you may be in luck by the fact that, according to Jeff Snyder, you're going to get plenty of time for them to build up into that Thrawn Mandoverse film, because according to Snyder, his best guess is that because Mandalorian and Grogu will be the first one we get, and then late 2026 will be the new Jedi Order movie. He's pretty sure that Dave Filoni, through all this time, right now he's writing Ahsoka season 2. He has to do that before he writes his movie that they announced, a Star Wars Celebration. So his focus right now is Ahsoka season 2. Then he's going to start developing the Mandoverse movie, or whatever you want to call it. So Snyder is guessing that the James Mangold Dawn of the Jedi movie is going to be before the Filoni movie. So he's saying that the James Mangold movie will probably be out in 2027, and the Filoni movie might not happen until 2028. So,
see, and that I like for the Filoni movie, but the Mando Grogu thing's still just.
Well,
if anyone wants to hear a rant on the Mando Grogu thing, check out last week's episode. I went off for a bit.
The biggest debate that Steve and I have ever had, biggest and longest that we've ever had on the history of this show. Over 2 years we've been doing this show.
Yep.
And we not that it got heated or anything, but like we were back and forth.
Yeah,
a
we were
lot,
100% not on the
yeah,
same
yeah.
page.
So definitely like go listen to that
Yeah.
if you want to hear that because it's interesting. But I have a question for you, Steve, because as I remember in our talk last week about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, you seemed more bothered by the fact that you felt like they were like rushing it to get something out.
Yeah.
And I admit that could be very possible, but I don't think it definitely does. It doesn't mean that it's going to be bad, but would you feel better about it if they announced it for like 2 years from now instead of being like, hey, it's happening and it's going in production this year and it's going to be out and it's going to be great? Like, would you feel better about a Mandalorian and Grogu movie if they were like, hey, next year, you know, we're starting to write a Mandalorian and Grogu movie. You're not going to see it for 2 years. Would that ease it for you? Would you be more excited about that kind of thing? It's just the fact, it's the rushness that really bothers you more than anything else.
Oh, 100%. And I'm glad that we helped Matt out. Apparently he listened to it earlier today and almost went and got his popcorn. But yeah, I think in all honesty, if they'd have announced that, yeah, this is like, even if they said like, hey, it's coming out after Dave finishes the Mandoverse movie. I think my biggest gripe was that like it really, when they announced it, it just felt like it was the execs saying, hey, we need to get these known commodities and get that out now. And I think honestly, that was my biggest issue. Or one honestly,
I can see it being like, again, I don't know that this is true, but I can definitely see it being, you know, Bob Iger telling Kathleen Kennedy, you need to get a Star Wars movie in theaters
that people will see
in 2026. Like, you have to do that.
Yep.
Do it. And then her going like to the her creative team being like, what do you got for me? What can we do that's ready? And Charmin Obaid-Chinoy is like, we're not ready. And James Mangold's like, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
And then she turns to
Sean
Levy's like, what can you do for
me? Still working on this. Like,
yeah.
I don't
and
even have a
Favreau's
script.
like, yeah. And Favreau's like, well, I got an idea.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, well, let's do it.
Right.
You know, I think the fandom got thrown, like reflecting back on like our conversation and like I listened to it and stuff and thinking about everything. I feel like the fandom got thrown into a tizzy about that because of the lack of context that was around that announcement. That announcement was like super short. It was like Mandalorian and Grogu movie, directed by Jon Favreau. Kennedy and Filoni are producing it. By the way, Filoni's doing Ahsoka season 2. Bye.
Right.
Like that was it. There was no like, it's going to be this and then Mando season 4 and then the Filoni. Like, give us like a time.
Right. Or like
if they had been like
a YouTube
this is
interview
the series.
Like, hey, like, here's a talk with Dave, like explaining why he wants to do this or whatever. It's just like, all right,
or
go.
Here's an announcement from Filoni and Favreau explaining the future of the Mandalorian. Like, this is the idea and it's going to end here. You know, like that would have been like, oh, okay, so they're planning this. I mean, and I'm sure they know how the movie's going to connect to season 4 and they know how that's going to connect to the other movie. Like, I'm sure they know that, but like, drop us a little bit of a hint. So tell us that you know, because they announced it so quickly and the press release was so shallow.
Right. Well, and
that leads us to think, that leads you and me to think like, oh, they're just rushing to this because they need something. But like, you know, tell us that there's a plan, because we've been burned by you not having a plan in the past.
The fact that they had already announced the full slate and then threw this in there was another thing that really irked me. Of like, all right, we knew there was X, Y, and Z happening, and then you're like, all right, this combination that's already gotten a ton of exposure and is already everywhere in the cultural zeitgeist.
Right.
You're just throwing a movie out there when currently where they're left as characters, there's no real, like, literally they closed the door on the end of season 3.
Yeah.
And like where they were on their little ranch.
Yeah. Like it would have been, I mean, not everything works out like this. It would have been cool if they could have tied it into the finale of Ahsoka or something, or the premiere of Skeleton Crew, or, you know, something like that. But it was probably like they weren't sure. They weren't necessarily ready to announce when Ahsoka ended, and they probably would have already been filming or something when Skeleton Crew, you know, was happening. So like they, you know, someone would have found out.
Also, Pedro Pascal is doing everything right now. When's he gonna have time for this?
Well, that's my big question, is that like, we all know that Pedro Pascal is in that suit maybe 10% of the time. I don't think he was in the suit at all on season 3 of Mandalorian. I think that's why he doesn't take his helmet off in Mandalorian season 3. I think because he was doing Last of Us.
Right.
So
and he's going to be doing Last of Us again.
Yeah. So
and potentially cast as Reed Richards, and potentially in like 2 or 3 other movies that he's got on his slate.
Yeah. So my guess is that it's going to be the similar thing where he's mostly doing voiceover. I can't imagine that we're not going to see him take his helmet off at least once in the Mando Grogu movie. Like, I feel like you have to. I feel like you have to give us Pedro Pascal in a feature Star Wars film. And I feel like he wants to. He probably wants to be like, oh, you're doing a movie? No, I'm showing my face in that thing. Yeah, I'm sure he wants to be involved, but I'm sure it'll be a similar thing where he's mostly just doing voice work, which he can do from any studio anywhere, in the middle of playing Reed Richards and filming Last of Us and all that stuff. But that dude is
in Gladiator too.
Oh, is he?
Apparently. According to Wikipedia.
Yeah, he is blowing up right now, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
Guy's a mensch. Sure. Also a little tidbit speaking of movies that we don't know anything about, Sean Levy has been developing a Star Wars project. Sean Levy is currently finishing up work on Deadpool 3, which will be out this year. And once he'll be pivoting full-time to his Star Wars film, from what I've heard. We don't know anything about it, except we did get a little bit of a nugget of information from Jeff Snyder, saying that his source tells him that it's very possible that Rey will be a part of the Sean Levy film as well.
Cool.
Speculation on he also, and this was, I listened to their the Hot Mic podcast this week, and he said something about, now it doesn't necessarily mean that Daisy really will be playing this version of Rey. It could be a version of Rey that is a lot older. Apparently they referenced some rumor about Helen Mirren playing an older version of Rey, which I had not heard.
That's a very older version of Rey.
Yeah, but if Snyder's referencing it, then, I don't know, maybe he heard it from somebody credible. I don't know. He's saying that it could be, it's not just because Rey is a part of it doesn't mean that she's the lead of it, doesn't mean that it's a sequel to the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy film, doesn't mean that it's even going to be the same version or whatever.
Right.
So, but we'll see. I'm interested. That makes me excited because, like, I love the character of Rey. I think that they kind of, I don't want to go into just bashing Rise of Skywalker, but I think they
yes, let the hate flow through you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Didn't do her very well in Skywalker. But I love that they're just embracing her as the lead moving forward. I mean, she was the lead of that sequel trilogy, and now she's the Last Jedi, So, like,
right.
She's the one. It's her. Like, that she's earning that $12.5 million. Like, it's got to be her, and she's going to lead us forward into whatever we are. If John Boyega comes back, great. Oscar Isaac comes back, great. What's his face? Adam Driver comes back as a Force Ghost, great. Yeah. But she's the one. She's the one, and I love that they're leaning into that, and they're not like so reactionary to some of the loud misogynist people that hate women in Star Wars. You're not just like, well, let's cool it on like the women, and they're like, no, fuck it. Yeah. It's Rey. It's her. She's the lead. We're doing it. So I like that. Any other Star Wars thoughts, Steve, before we move on to a other Lucasfilm property?
No.
All right, cool.
I mean, I'm sure there's plenty, but no, not off the top of my head.
I mean, we both have Star Wars thoughts constantly.
Right.
Constantly having Star Wars thoughts.
Yes.
Moving on to a slightly less popular Lucasfilm franchise, American Graffiti. Just kidding. We're not talking about American Graffiti. Talking about Willow. Oh, no, just kidding. Just kidding. Indiana Jones. Of course, it's Indiana Jones. Who'd you think I was talking about?
The dog.
Come on. The dog?
They named the dog Indiana.
Yeah. Love that dog. We got a trailer this week, not for an Indiana Jones movie. Gonna be a long time before we get another of those. I believe. But for an Indiana Jones video game, which I forgot was happening. I think we maybe learned about it a long time ago. I don't remember. I forgot about it.
I don't
completely.
We might have heard like rumblings.
Yeah. I think there was one episode not long ago where I said, "Why aren't they making an Indiana Jones game?" And then up and said, "Guess what? They are." Like that's the last thing I remember, but that was months ago.
That happens.
But I forgot about it, and I may forget about it again, and we'll get to that in a second. We got a trailer. It's called Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It's the title. Can't say, do I like that title better than Dial of Destiny? I don't know. It's still not great. It's not great.
It's not a great circle.
Yeah, it's a meh circle.
It's supposedly referencing like a circle around the Earth that he's investigating.
Okay. I don't know.
At this point, I actually, when I first saw it, I was like, are they just throwing words at a screen to make an Indiana Jones title? Dial of Destiny, the Great Circle, like what are we doing here? But here we are.
Yeah. Here we are. I saw the trailer. It looked good. However, it's an Xbox and PC exclusive, and I'm a PS5 guy, so I will not be playing this game, and I'm bummed about that. That I won't be playing this game. Apparently, it was originally going to be also available on PS5, but then Microsoft acquired Bethesda and Machine Games, with companies that are making this game, and Microsoft decided, no, we're going to make it Xbox and PC exclusive, so our rival Sony takes a hit. And I was really sad about that, but I got less sad when I realized that it's primarily a third-person game, like or first-person game. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like, primarily a first-person game.
Primarily first-person.
I am not a huge fan of either.
Neither am I. Yeah, it's like a first-person shooter, but without the shooting. You're using a whip and punching people and picking up.
Though it apparently the people at Machine Games were some of those that developed Wolfenstein. So at least they have the history with it, and like it's going to be well done.
Yes.
However, like I don't know if it's because I'm an old now. Just can't get behind the first person titles.
I'm an old now too, but I've never really liked the first person vantage point. Apparently the game will switch to third person for certain things, like when you're climbing a wall or something, it switches to third person, or when you're swinging on your whip. But like, I don't know. I feel like Indiana Jones is such a great looking character, such like there's no other character that really looks like him. Like he's easily identifiable. Yeah. He's unique to he's got a unique look amongst pop culture icons. And you're gonna play a whole game and not ever see him? Like, I don't know. I mean, you'll see him in cutscenes, I guess, but like
pretty much it.
It's just not
in his hands.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like
just not as exciting.
GoldenEye back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did play a lot of Halo and GoldenEye back in the day.
I sure did play a lot of GoldenEye once upon a time, but I don't know.
Maybe that's a spin-off podcast. I still have my 64 set up in the other room, so.
Oh, okay.
We'll have a special episode of both of us being really bad at GoldenEye.
I was never really good at it, so I'm sure I'm even worse now, for sure.
Yep.
So yeah, Steve, what do you think of? I mean, we just both talked about how we're not into the first person style, but in general, do you have any thoughts about this game?
No,
the trailer looks good.
Yeah, the trailer looks fine. I could play it on PC. It's like I may try it out, but also like might wait for like a Steam sale or something and just give it a go there.
Yeah.
It looks, I'm sure, if that's what you're pining for, it looks good. I'd be curious, like the stories, I guess it's effectively like Uncharted in
style,
in Indy form. Like in Indy skin over Nathan Drake.
And I saw people online saying like, oh, if you're mad about the first person thing, you just go play Uncharted. I was like, yeah, I know, I guess it would be a lot like Uncharted, but I kind of wouldn't care. Like I would love just Uncharted, but with Indiana Jones. Like I would love that. I would love, that's what the game should be.
Nathan Drake's fine and a great character and all that. Yeah. But like it's Indy.
Like Uncharted is a ripoff of Indiana Jones.
100%.
So if you're making an Indiana Jones game, why lean away from the thing that was inspired by you?
Yeah.
You should just do a better version of that. And I know it's hard because Uncharted games are great, but I don't know. I don't know. Like that would still sell. I feel like that would still be successful.
I
But like I said,
later
I'm a
Uncharted,
PS5 guy, so I'm not going to play it. Probably even if it was a third-person game, I probably wouldn't play it.
Yeah.
But I will miss playing it less because of the style they have chosen to make it in. Quick DC story for you tonight. Anya Chalotra will be voicing the character of Circe in Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos, a DC animated adult animation show coming out this year sometime, back half of 2024. It'll be the first entry in James Gunn's new DC universe. I'm very excited for it. See what happens there. Anya Chalotra currently plays Yennefer of Venneberg in the Netflix Witcher series, a series that I have not seen one episode of. So
first season was good.
That's right. Yeah, you watched it for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Is this character in the first season? Did you see Anya Chalotra? She good?
Yeah, fine.
All right, cool. Why is this exciting? Because Circe, the character of Circe, is an evil sorceress and a big villain in the DC universe, mostly known as a Wonder Woman villain, which makes me wonder, no pun intended, if we will see this character pop up in the Paradise Lost Themyscira series that has been announced. It's an HBO Max original series played by Anya Chalotra, because James Gunn has said that they want, whenever possible, the people that voice the characters in animation to play them in live action as well. And they keep that in mind when casting. So clearly, James Gunn wants Anya Chalotra to play Circe in live action, should that character ever come into play.
Right.
And she's a great villain. She's like, I like Wonder Woman's obviously a great character. I enjoy Wonder Woman when she's dealing with like dark magic weirdness, because I like dark magic weirdness. There's a whole run of Justice League Dark where she is in charge of the Justice League Dark and working alongside Zatanna and Swamp Thing and, you know, Deadman and all this. And so I would love to see Circe introduced. I was hoping that Circe was going to be in Wonder Woman 1984. When there was that whole like magic wishing rock thing, I was like, ooh, maybe they're going to reveal that Circe is behind this. And then they just didn't tell us who was behind it at all. And it was just a magic wishing rock with no explanation. Good times. Anyway, Steve has left the room. So it's just us. It's just us. If there's anything that you want to say about Steve without him hearing it, tell me right now. Oh my God, really? Wow. I never noticed that about him, but I'll definitely notice it next time. Cool. Is there anything that I want to say about Steve while he's out of the room so he doesn't hear it? I think he's a kind and helpful and wonderful person. And I'm happy to be doing this podcast with him forever. That's right, forever. Forever. I can't vamp anymore. I don't know what else to say, but I do have to take a sip of my drink. And again, Steve's not back. So, he just sat down. So he's going to be able to put his headphones on. His headphones are on and he can talk now because I have to drink. Except he's muted, so it didn't work. We almost timed that perfectly, but you were muted.
Damn it. I even said stuff.
Yeah, I know you did. I saw those lips moving.
Yeah. Where'd we end up?
I was just saying that I think Circe is a great villain because she's magic related and could pose a different threat to the Amazons or Wonder Woman if she turns up in a future Wonder Woman project. But I think it would be cool if she was in the Max series. Yeah.
Or dare I say, one of the weaknesses of one Clark Kent.
Ah, that is true. That is true. Superman susceptible to magic in all its forms, as well as Supergirl.
Yeah.
So
the woman of tomorrow, dare I say?
You dare. You do dare.
That's yeah. I'm curious. Creature Commandos still really, Adam. It intrigues me. But yeah. Matt brought up in the chat about the art style and like seeing more we've only seen a couple of stills from it, or like
really just the one still. I think I can only think of the one
concept,
the group shot. Yeah.
Yep. And like where this is going to go animation wise could drastically change how much I enjoy it.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to watch it no matter what.
Yeah. I know you're going to be tied in, but like
based on that one still, it kind of looks similar to the Invincible animation.
Yeah, sort of.
Which I don't love. I think it's okay. I think it's good. It's watchable. It's not like it would take a lot for the animation to be such styled in a way that I find it to be unwatchable.
Yep.
And certainly James Gunn doesn't want the first project from his new DCU to be considered unwatchable. So
no,
it would not be a great not a great first foot forward there. So yeah, Anya Chalotra, Circe. I hope that I don't know. I hope we see her in live action sooner than later. I also hope that we get a legit Wonder Woman thing announced by James Gunn.
Right, outside of the Themyscira series that may or may not happen.
Yeah. At the same time, I mean, there's no reason. I mean, I almost said there's no reason to assume that these things aren't going to happen. And then I realized that we're talking about Warner Brothers. So very good reason to assume these things aren't going to happen.
Right.
I just have I have more faith in James Gunn leading DC Studios than anyone else that has ever made a DC movie.
Right.
Or announced a DC movie, I should say. Yeah. So, but it is interesting. I wonder when we will get more announcements from James Gunn about things they're doing, because there's still so much to know about the things he already announced. Like,
yeah,
he's still doing so much work, assumedly, behind the scenes. It's not just casting Superman Legacy. He's probably dealing with showrunners and writers for the Themyscira show, for the Green Lantern show, for the Booster Gold show. He's talking to James Mangold about Swamp Thing, and like, he's the head of that studio, so he's got to be monitoring all this work.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I want to know what the other projects are on his slate, I feel like I'd rather just hear more about the ones he already announced, because that will give me more. It'll give me less cause for concern. Like you just said, is this going to happen? Whether or not things are going to happen. If I know, oh, there's a showrunner, oh, there's cast for the Paradise Lost show, oh, this person has been cast as Hal Jordan or whatever. Right. Like, oh, okay, so these things are actually happening and they're moving forward, and good. Yeah. Now announce more projects now that I know that these things are actually going to happen. But, I still have faith in James Gunn. He's taking his time, and that's all fine and good and wonderful.
You know what I don't have faith in?
Steve, that was the exact segue that I was going to say, my friend. Exact same segue.
Well, the answer, Mike, is Sony.
Sony! I don't even understand this story, Steve. I don't understand this. I don't understand this.
No, it makes no sense.
This is another thing that came out this week. We're talking about the next it's the next superhero movie we're getting.
I think so.
Right?
It's the next one that
big
comes
superhero
to my
movie.
brain.
Everyone's excited about Madam Web coming out in February, Valentine's Day.
There are tens of them that are excited about Madam Web.
I'm excited in a way. That way is just that I can't imagine what it's going to be.
No.
We've only seen that one trailer, and it looks wild and weird and maybe bad, but interesting, like we talked about.
Right.
Looks interesting, but bad.
There's enough meat on the bone that I want to know what's happening. However,
I will probably go see this movie in a theater.
I
think I might. Let me check my schedule real quick here.
I might because it's free.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a platinum discount ticket for Movie Tavern, so
we should go and do a live out of the theater reaction. That's what we should do.
Yeah.
On like socials or something. We should do that.
Brian, Brian's in the chat as well. Saddle Jesse up and let's go make a horrible movie reaction.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
No,
anyway.
And it may. That said, it may be fine.
Yeah,
but
it might
nothing that I've seen makes me think that I should have hope that it's fine.
there are some very talented actors in this movie.
Oh, 100%.
Very talented actors in this movie. Dakota Johnson, I think, is a great actor.
Yep.
So I'd see it just for her.
Yeah. Sydney Sweeney's been good in what she's done.
Sydney Sweeney's great.
Isabella Merced, Emma Roberts.
Isabella Merced is everywhere,
Yeah.
dude.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I just keep seeing her name pop up as being cast in things.
Adam Scott, Mike Epps.
Adam Scott. Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's options.
Yeah, it's a good cast. It's a good cast. But I don't know it's going to be a great movie. And here's the this is what like I said, that I don't understand this story. I don't really understand what they mean by this. Apparently, I get parts of it. Apparently, the original idea on the Sony side of things was to have Andrew Garfield be the Spider-Man of the Sony universe, which is something that fans talked about after No Way Home came out. Apparently, the studio thought that could be possible as well. And I guess Madam Web was constructed in order to service that idea in some way.
Huh.
I don't really get that. As in, like, Madam Web was going to take place in the 90s. And, I mean, we had heard rumors that Adam Scott is playing Ben Parker, like Uncle Ben.
Right.
But like a younger version of Uncle Ben. So therefore, Peter would be a lot younger. So if Madam Web took place in the 90s, it would have to correspond to whatever age Andrew Garfield's Peter would have been at that time, right? So I guess that was the original idea, but then they changed their idea and said that it should line up with Tom Holland, who is younger than Andrew Garfield. So they did a bunch of reshoots specifically to adjust the timeline of Madam Web and erase all the references to the 1990s that they had in the film.
Makes total sense.
What? But is Spider-Man going to be in this movie? No. I don't think so. He's not in any other ones. He's not in Venoms.
I don't know.
He's not in Morbius.
We did get an official runtime. So this movie will be 1 minute and 52 seconds of mess.
1 minute and 52 seconds?
Well, one can hope. 1 hour and 52 minutes, however, is the actual runtime.
Just under 2 hours. That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But it is the longest Sony movie to date.
True.
Longer than.
But it also has a lot of characters. Like it's got to set up a lot of characters, I think. There's also no post-credit scene, I read. So don't bother sticking around, people. No post-credit scene. So everything I just said, I don't know if it means anything. I don't think it means anything at all. I don't think Andrew Garfield's going to be in this movie. I don't think Tom Holland's going to be. I don't think Spider-Man's going to be.
No.
At all. So, sure. I also don't think it's smart of them to be chasing Tom Holland when he's only in the ones that Disney does. He's not in the Sony ones. Again, I don't know why he's not in the Sony ones. It makes no sense to me that he's not all over those Sony ones. Sony owns Spider-Man.
Been your biggest is like the fact that they're making all these Spider movies without a Spider-Man.
Well, that's stupid to begin with. But then why are you bending over backwards to service the idea of possibly having a Spider-Man in it? Like, No Way Home made it pretty clear that Venom is not in that universe. Venom is not in the same universe as Tom Holland. So why? Just make it Andrew Garfield. Even if Andrew Garfield's not in it. Just, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing, Sony. But none of it seems to be smart. Anyway, I want to be done talking about that. I don't have anything else to say about Madam Web, but I do have a comic book to review. Do you have a comic book to review this week, Steve?
Do I? I think I do. Oh, I do.
You also probably read 15 for your 1,000 comics in 2024.
Yeah, getting close to that.
Nice. I'll go first. I didn't even have a book last week to review, so I read Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man 2099 #1.
Nice.
It's written by hometown boy Steve Orlando. Artist is Devmalia Pramnik. Color artist Raul Angulo. And letters by Corey Petit. It's been a long time since I've read a Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man 2099 book. And I know that Steve Orlando kind of staked his claim on this character recently. I feel like he's written a lot of 2099 Spider-Man, a lot of Miguel O'Hara. I feel like once or twice a year he does like a 4-issue miniseries that comes out bam, 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 bam once a week. He did this last year, and he's doing it again this year. Because I think issue like 3 or 4 is coming out this week. Like it's already like we're already into this,
Right.
But this is issue 1 of this miniseries. It involves zombies and horror elements. I think I remember we talked about this when they announced that he was going to do this, because this is like it's like leaning into horror a lot, this series. And I think Miguel O'Hara fits that as well, being sometimes a vampire himself. And Blade of 2099 is in this issue as a very short cameo from Ghost Rider 2099. This is great. I like this a lot. Having not, like I said, I haven't read this character in a long time. But I really dug this. And it kind of stands as a one-shot. Like, they do set up maybe another thing that's going to happen, but if I, like, it's not a cliffhanger. It definitely wraps up the story of this book, for sure. It moves really fast. It gets a lot done. There's actually some pages that I was very impressed with the amount of information and storytelling that they were conveying on one page. Like, as someone who also writes comics, I was like, whoa, I feel like that's a trick I should remember. Like, cutting back and forth between storylines on each panel as they go down. Like, I never think to do this stuff like that, but you know, you only got a certain amount of room and you're
next to each other. They're
like you're trying to cover a lot of ground. It's not like this page is Spider-Man and the next page is Blade. It's like, nope, we're getting through this entire story that could be 2 pages. We're doing this on 1 page. But it didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel like they were trying to squeeze too much in. It felt fast-paced, for sure, but in a way that I found like exciting and fun.
Yeah.
And it was really good. And the next one is gonna have Moon Knight of 2009 in it, and Dracula as well. And the series is it's a 5-issue series. Sorry, it's gonna be there's gonna be some kind of werewolf and some kind of looks like man thing is gonna show up in the 5th issue as well. So, jump on it. Steve Orlando, Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man, 2099. It's out there right now, and it's very good. It's very good. If you like this character, if you saw him in Beyond the Spider-Verse, no, that's the 3rd one. Across Spider-Verse. You want more? Check it out. Spider-Man, 2099.
There you go.
Right now. What do you got this week?
I have the one-shot that's become a recurring one-shot annually from Marvel, Timeless, the 2023 version. This is the Doom variant cover, which is a killer cover. But the story this year revolves around a Power Man that has truly become Power Man and absorbed the powers of various characters, including like Hulk and Sentry and whatnot. This is set far in the future.
Okay.
And a war with the aforementioned Moon Knight. But not the Moon Knight you would expect. Not Mark Spector / any of his alters. It is actually the body of Danny Rand.
Whoa.
So
not who I thought you were going to say at all.
So somehow Luke Cage, Power Man, has the powers of the Iron Fist. Danny Rand is the immortal Moon Knight, a construct of Khonshu that is somehow tied up in all this complete and utter mess. Overall, a very, very entertaining book written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig and art by Juan Cabal. It's a very visually catching. Of course, I open up to the ad page, but even the representations of Moon Knight and that, like, clean.
Oh yeah, cool.
Clean art, very easy to follow, but still some solid like splash pages and full page art that that conveys kind of what you're looking for. Overall, a pretty decent book. As a one shot, it was just like, okay, this is a story. There was a whole lot of apparently these have turned into kind of foreshadowing for the next year in Marvel Comics.
Oh, really?
So there were a couple things that hinted at where Marvel's going with a couple things, and yeah, overall it was solid for a single issue story.
Nice. Wild
Very
premise.
very confusing to grasp for the first quarter of the book, and then once you get it, it was like, oh, okay, all right, I'm seeing something here.
I feel like I have my own ideas for my own comic book stories. But anytime I always struggle when I think like, oh, what would I do with Batman, or how would I write Spider-Man or something?
Yep.
But I feel like, like in that situation, I feel like someone was just like, well, what if this character had this other character's powers? Like, just completely sidestep any kind of quote unquote reality of the character. Just like, well, what if Iron Fist was really Moon Knight and Luke Cage was Iron Fist? Well, what's that story?
Yep.
I never think like that. Maybe I should just be like, no, let's make it bananas.
This was definitely out of left field.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing starts with Luke Cage, like, I guess shuttling or ushering a group of refugees across a desert, and then Khonshu, or an avatar of Khonshu, comes and tries to give them gifts, and it sets the conflict up quite well, and then just goes very confusing from there. And it was great, but it was like, okay, we're in for a ride. Like you knew you were in for like having to pay attention to every panel when you open that book. So,
speaking of opening books, Steve, 1,000 comics in 2024. Give me a highlight from the last couple books that you've read this week.
Highlight of the week was probably Avengers Twilight by Chip Zdarsky.
Oh yeah,
and Daniel Acuna.
Turned out good.
Yeah, I was very surprised. Like, premise wise, I was like, I don't know how they're going to do this or what they're going to do. Very novel look at it. You're looking at it's written from Steve's perspective, as he's gotten older and is depowered, like is no longer super soldier serumed.
Yeah. Oh wow.
He ends up meeting a depowered Luke Cage, and where his indestructible skin has basically made it so he has to walk around with a cane. Because it's just old and it's like not flexible anymore. So he's just like crotchety around, and like an old Matt Murdock, and it's a very, very weird take on it, but Zdarsky definitely gives it his spin and his feel. A very well told tale. Surprised the hell out of me. I bought it on a whim, thinking the concept was cool, and then it was like, I really like this.
Awesome.
So yeah, that was the highlight of the books this week. I am currently, because I was on the road all day today, 3 behind my target. But that's an easy catch up when you've got a shelf of things to catch up.
You got plenty to choose from.
Yeah. I'll let you know when I need to start breaking into yours.
Okay,
but we hit Avengers Twilight. We hit Cobra Commander #1, which was a great single issue, continuing the Energon stuff. Cable #1, which is a less than great single issue. I was talking to a friend at a friend's house. Whatever. Kid get together. A bunch of the parents were talking. Ended up talking about Cable and how don't particularly ever love the characterization of old Cable with young Cable. And this kickoff has, old Nathan Summers talking to the younger iteration that has shown up, and it's like, just give me classic Cable.
Yeah, it's like too crazy.
Yeah, like give me crotchety old Cable. Invincible Iron Man 14 was solid. High Republic, Kevin Scott continues to kill it. And then I did a crazy thing, Mike. I started rereading the original run of the Uncanny X-Men.
Oh yeah.
So if you remember last year, you happened to find a wonderful garage sale and picked up for your podcast co-host the collected editions of
I sure did.
the Uncanny X-Men volumes 1 through 5. I believe it's like 90. Well, it's giant size number 1 through maybe like 130 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I started diving into that because it's been a long time.
Awesome.
A long time.
Long time.
And so dove into giant size 1 and then issues 94 and 95 of the Claremont run. So
Sweet.
You'll be seeing a lot of the X-Men Volume 1 on there. But,
awesome.
Yeah. It made me remember why I love those characters too.
Oh, that's great.
You
great.
realize how when you break into books that are of that vintage, it's like how simplified things were back then and how it was like, this is Peter Rasputin. He's a Russian dude. We're going to show stereotypical Russian things on the screen with his stereotypically Russian family. And this is Kurt Wagner, who's in Germany and being persecuted because he's blue and looks like a demon.
Devil looking.
And Professor X is going to magically show up out of nowhere and magic him back to the... It's like...
That's all you need.
Huh. It can be that simple and still be that simple. Good.
Yep.
And it's like, at the same time, I'm like, am I giving it the grade I'm giving it because it's a good issue or because I have the nostalgia of this is where these guys came from?
Right.
And then the introduction of Krakoa in Giant Size 1.
Sure.
Because that's the enemy. Which is hilarious thinking now on New Krakoa and like the whole where it all ended up as we currently are in X-Men. If you ever want to know all the ins and outs of X-Men, go listen to the Ridiculously Crazy podcast because they've been doing it for so long. But Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men will give you a way too in-depth version of all of these things, more so than we can possibly do that. But it's all in all, very, 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 very happy to be back into the classic X-Men.
Nice. Solid week then.
Yeah. Did you read anything this week?
Oh, just some stuff by the one and only G. Willow Wilson.
Doing your homework.
Some homework, for the interview. I gotta say, my wife finally picked up my copy of Strange Adventures that had been sitting on her nightstand for months, a long time, trying to get her to read it. She read the whole thing in like 2 hours. She flew through it, and at first she was like just reading it because she had some time, and then it was like, I'm going to finish this today. This is great. I need to finish this today. It's so good. So
I need to crack the one that's over there.
You really do. Yeah, it's so good, man. And I was just like looking over her shoulder, like, where is she? Oh, she's there. Oh, okay. I gotta walk away. Don't want to distract her. So that was great. That was cool to see. And I am going on a bit of a long weekend getaway with my wife's family this weekend. I might have mentioned it before.
Yep.
And they're all going skiing. I am not a skier, so I will not be doing that. I will have some downtime. So I am going to bring some books with me and hopefully fly through all of them.
Nice. I just drove 10 hours today to go get ski boots, so I am definitively a skier.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah. 5 hours up, 5 hours back. It was great.
Wow. A long drive.
Yeah. Let me know if you need any additional books for your trip because there's a whole stack of stuff over here you haven't read.
If I did, I'd let you know, but I definitely don't. I have
You're in the same boat I am.
Collected editions and graphic novels just sitting. Like I have my shelf, but all the ones I haven't read yet, I have like pulled out a little bit so I don't forget. And there's quite a few to choose from.
Did that, and then my 6-year-old decided to be like, "Oh, well, let's push all these back." I was like,
"Yeah,
cool.
That has happened to me as well." But like some of them are obvious. Like Wonder Woman Historia is like big and beautiful and sitting right there, and I know that I'm going to grab that one. I know I haven't finished Alan Moore. I got one more volume of Alan Moore's thing. I got a few more Sandmans to get through. So like,
I've still got to finish Supergirl. Like,
Supergirl's another one that I haven't gotten to. I got a physical copy of Superman, All-Star Superman, which classically, I've said on the show before, I've read digitally twice, and I haven't loved it.
Right.
So I'm hoping that this physical copy will turn me around on it. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I think after the X-Men, my next hits, I've got Rorschach, Strange Adventures, and Supergirl over there, as well as that first trade of Nightwing, the Taylor run.
Yeah, so you got a Tom King trilogy.
Yeah.
Plus a bit of some Tom Taylor Nightwing stuff. Awesome.
Yep. So
that'd be great.
I got that, and then the collected of Lemire's Moon Knight, which I was debating rereading prior to starting this whole thing, but that might happen. It will happen at some time this year. It's just a matter of whether I do that now or like that's not one I haven't read. So I guess like in my brain I'm like I should probably get through the stuff I haven't read first.
Yeah.
So before I start rereading.
Yeah. Speaking of things we haven't read, what is coming up this weekend? Not this weekend. This week. This Wednesday. Your local comic book store. You got DC's Amazon's Attack, Batman, the Brave and the Bold, number 9, Damn Them All, number 12, Detective Comics, number 1081, James Tynion's the 4th, Dracula, number 4, The Flash, number 5, Ghost Machine, number 1, Green Arrow, number 8, Harley Quinn, number 36, The Immortal Thor, number 6, Junior Baker, The Righteous Faker, also by James Tynion the 4th, number 5, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, number 116. The Penguin, number 6. Power Girl, number 5. Punisher, number 3. Red Sonja, number 7. Spawn, number 349. Spider-Woman, number 3. Superior Spider-Man, number 3. Star Trek Defiant, number 1. Star Wars Thrawn Alliances, number 1. Titans Beast World, number 5. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, number 147. And X-Force, number 48. Plus so many other great books. Steve, am I correct in that Star Wars Thrawn Alliances is a comic book retelling of the Timothy Zahn Thrawn trilogy?
It is
I feel like I read that somewhere.
It is a retelling of the Thrawn Alliances trilogy.
Okay.
Which is different than the Heir to the Empire trilogy and different than the new canon Thrawn trilogy.
Okay. Never mind then. I don't know what any of those things are.
Yeah.
So I read retelling of Thrawn trilogy and I assumed first one. But I was wrong. So you someone who you're someone that has read all those trilogies, I believe.
Yes.
All those
in
Thrawn
novel
books.
form.
Right. Are you excited about a comic book adaptation of the Thrawn Alliances books?
I am mildly excited about it for people like you that will not read the novel. Because they are like especially Alliances was a very good story. That one is that was from the that's the number 2 issue signed by Zahn. From the original retelling of the new Thrawn trilogy. They put that out in graphic novel form as well. And then Dark Horse back in the day had done the Heir to the Empire stuff. So this is the graphic novelization of the latest of Zahn's trilogies. Nice. So, yeah.
What time period in Star Wars do those take place? Like during the Rule of the Empire or pre-New Hope or like during the original trilogy?
So the original Thrawn trilogy, like Heir to the Empire, which was that was EU one,
after
was post Return of the Jedi. The original Thrawn trilogy is, I believe, it kind of flits back and forth between, because that's the one where it's revealed that Thrawn knew Anakin and Vader.
Okay, yeah.
And then so that it kind of fits in a bunch of different like parts of the timeline at various points, but primarily, I guess post Return of the Jedi, and then pre Revenge of the Sith, post Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
kind of bounces between the two. So, and then
cool.
Thrawn Alliances is Thrawn's partnership with Vader. So.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yep.
Nice. Maybe I'll have to dive into that or wait for a collected. Check them out. That'd be cool. No one shots tonight, Steve. I think that's all we got. I don't have anything else.
I thought you had a one shot.
Anything to wrap up with?
Am I going crazy? I swear
you had a one shot? I don't think I had a one shot. Is there news that I missed?
Where did I see that I'm going mildly insane?
what was the gist? Was the fandom Star Wars, DC, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, Doctor Who, Star Trek, Game of Thrones?
It was the 3 actors testing for the role of Supergirl.
Oh, we talked about that last week.
Yeah, that must have been a residual, and I did not delete that. So that was in my notes. That shouldn't be.
All
hey
right,
guys,
then.
if you didn't see last week, there's 3 different actors looking
testing for Supergirl,
which primarily will be 2 of them because one of them is the existing voice actor.
You can't say it never happens because I didn't say this last week, but I don't remember any of those actors' names that are testing for Supergirl. But one of them is
and Millie Alcock.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. But one of them is voicing Supergirl in a few recent animated DC projects. And you might think that means she's not going to get cast as Supergirl in live action. But Zoe Kravitz voiced Catwoman in the Lego Batman movie. And here she is now, our Catwoman in live action Robert Pattinson Batland.
There you go.
So you never know. It could happen. Stranger things have happened.
Stranger things happened at least 4 times.
Yeah, it's going to happen one more time, and then we're going to be done with it.
This is true. Until there's a spinoff, because there inevitably will be a spinoff.
Oh, yeah. Netflix is going to
milk that as much as they can.
Milk that cash cow right into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, back to me not having anything else. I don't. So I think I'm good to wrap up if you are, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier, get a hold of us on the socials, the multiverseport.com, multiverseport@gmail.com, multiverseport.com for all your multiverse reporting needs. Feel free to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, follow us, subscribe on YouTube, and, leave us a review. Let us know how you think we're doing. Give us some feedback.
Yeah. It's a 5-star review. We'll read it.
Yeah.
Even unless it's hurtful or in bad faith. But we'll read it. You just want us to promote something on our show, give us a 5-star review and we'll read it. And our hands are tied.
Yeah.
We'll promote it if it's 5 stars.
We have officially committed to it numerous times.
Yeah, numerous times. No one takes us up on it, which is annoying, I gotta say. One other thing that I will say, another reminder, Tuesday, we're talking to Willow Wilson. So watch your feeds. Make sure you are subscribed, whether you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or just on YouTube or Spotify, however you listen to this. Subscribe, watch your feed for Willow Wilson. Have not confirmed whether or not there will be a video aspect to that interview. I have to confirm that. But it will definitely be audio. But anyway, like and subscribe. So you'll hear it when it's out. Most likely Wednesday. You'll hear it in your feed. So that's coming up. And I think that's it. So until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you in the multiverse.